Welcome to the Nonprofit Report, your update on nonprofit organizations, issues, and leaders. I'm your host, Mark Oppenheim, and today we are chatting with the leaders of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Dane County, Wisconsin, with CEO and President Michael Johnson, Taylor Jackson, Chief Education and People Officer, and Alan Branch, Senior Vice President of Workforce Development. So thank you all for joining us. We've been going to school on what you all are doing, and I'm just so impressed with how you've shaped this organization, supported the community. So let's go to you, Michael. Could you just talk about Boys and Girls Clubs, but could you leaven this with a perspective of what Boys and Girls Clubs were when Boys and Girls Clubs originated, and how you are unique, because you have really gone above and beyond in shaping your organization for Dane County.
Boys and Girls Clubs have been around for over 125 years. I was a kid that grew up in the Boys and Girls Club. I grew up on the west side of Chicago in a neighborhood that was infested with gangs, drugs, and prostitution. And it was my local Boys and Girls Club that kept me out of trouble. I went to the Eisenberg Boys and Girls Clubs, and I firmly believe that if that Boys and Girls Club was not in my community, I don't think I'd be alive today. So I am indebted to this organization. When I was a part-time staffer for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Chicago, when my mother passed away, I was 23 years old, and I was a part-time program director. My mother passed away and didn't have any health insurance or any kind of insurance, and we didn't know how we were going to bury her. And it was my local Boys and Girls Club who raised the money to help bury my mother. And I knew at that time that I wanted to go to college. I wanted to get a couple of degrees, that I was someday going to run a local Boys and Girls Club and do transformational things for young people in our community. 16 years ago, I got that opportunity to become the president and CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of Dane County. And we're one of the fastest growing Boys and Girls Clubs in the country. We've built the largest set-alone workforce center in the history of Boys and Girls Clubs of America. And we're helping hundreds and hundreds of kids every single year who traditionally would not graduate from high school, graduate and persist through college. And we do everything from preschool to after-school programs to helping kids go to college to helping introduce young people to the trades and to the workforce.
So before I jump in, I'm going to go around the room a little bit. Taylor, first you, and then Alan, if you all can give us your sense of the organization and how you got involved. And then I've got some real questions, because there's so much here to explore. But Taylor, why don't you hold forth?
Absolutely. So I actually started here. I've been with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Dane County for just over 9 years now. So I've been through a number of roles. I actually started out as a college success coach in our education programs that Michael spoke a bit about. And so my role was working specifically with students locally who were attending Madison College and supporting them through that college journey. That could be anything from sitting down and thinking about, I'm really struggling in this class. How do I ask for help? I didn't know I could email my professor and ask for help, to filling out the FAFSA, to submitting transfer applications to colleges and everything that comes with that. So I started in that role, and I moved up through a couple of different positions in the education team. My role now is I get to oversee our education programs. So that's our college and career readiness and success programming. And we'll talk a bit more about this later, but we serve over 1,500 youth and young adults annually, supporting their college and career journeys, college campus visits, on-campus support, internships, pre-internships. So how can we provide opportunities for them to reach their goals? I also oversee our human resources team and some of our leadership development strategies, so that we're continuing to build up our internal folks, make sure they are empowered to best support youth and have what they need to carry forth our mission.
Superb. And Alan, the thing that really strikes me about the workforce development approach that you all have is that it looks to me, and I'm an outsider, so forgive me if I get this wrong, but it looks to me that the workforce development philosophy it starts really early, and it takes young people through their various stages. So it looks like you're looking at this as a continuum, whereas most workforce development programs kind of kick in the high school years, but it looks to me like you've got a grander vision than that. Do I have that right, Alan?
You kind of do, but it's even a little deeper than that. Right now, the average journey person in the trades industry is around 52 years old. When you talk about apprenticeships, the average age of a person that's starting into an apprenticeship is in their 30s, their mid 30s. The construction industry is a bunch of small businesses. Joe's Plumbing. These are organizations that primarily have 5 to 10 employees. It's a hard industry to get into, and it's an industry that a lot of young people just really don't have much of a connection with. Our focus is exactly as you said, Mark, to get out and bring more awareness to the industry, the great jobs that are available to people who pursue it, and to do it as early as possible. And we start as early as the 8th grade to give them some exposure, to give them more awareness, to get them thinking about the trades as a possible career pathway for themselves. And we've been ecstatic about the results that we're getting and the impact that we're making in the lives of young people as a result of that since we opened the center.
The thing that strikes me about all of this is that there's so much in the body politic and in the news and so on and so forth that focuses on things that it's not that they're unimportant, but what you're doing is dealing with practical solutions to practical problems. Michael, when you're thinking about your own life story and you're thinking about community response when the individual doesn't necessarily have the wherewithal, when you're thinking about the healing of coming together, how does that inform how you engage people in the story of the community through the Boys and Girls Clubs?
We actually changed our mission. Our mission years ago only focused on the kids. We changed our mission to focus on the kids and their families. And we believe that we focus on the entire family, you'll create a stronger community as a result of that. But we also have led that if another family or community need our help in another part of the country, we go. So when the hurricanes happened in Flint, Michigan, we were the first nonprofit there. We came in with dozens of people and hundreds of thousands of dollars to help those families that was impacted by those tornadoes. When those floods happened in Houston, Texas, our organization went down there and raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to support those families in their community. And in fact, we rescued about a half a dozen Wisconsinites in Houston when that incident, occurred. But also we believe in advocacy for young people. When Ahmaud Avery was killed in Georgia, we had a town hall meeting with the young people in Brunswick, Georgia, and young people in Madison, and we helped to raise money for his sister so she could graduate from graduate school. So there's no geography in our area around leadership. If families need our help locally, we help. Another example I give over the holidays, there's times if you Google the great work of our organization, there's time we've blessed people with a brand new home over the holidays or a brand new car over the holidays. And every single year for 16 years, our team worked on Christmas Day, and we deliver toys and gifts and cars and pay people rents to offer a helping hand to those who need, our support. And our Boys and Girls Clubs, you will see spinning bikes and fitness equipment. You'll also see a dental clinic for families that take advantage of the work that we do in our partnerships. You cannot transform the lives of young people without connecting their families to them.
And Taylor, I noticed that you transport, I might have the exact number wrong, 625 kids weekly from 19 schools? to club location? I mean, you're in the transportation business, right? I mean, that's important because no transportation, no exposure, no education, no programs, right? I mean, you're dealing with you're responding to need without being so strict about where you're placing boundaries, right?
Yeah, I might let Michael and Alan speak to how many sites we're transporting from. Our VP of operations is out right now, so she would absolutely know that. Michael, Alan, do you have more to say to that?
Yeah, I would just say, Mark, you're absolutely right. Transportation is important. Like for our workforce center, I was just on a panel with the state apprenticeship director, and we talked about how do you remove barriers from young people's lives. And so in our pre-apprenticeship program, we feed all of our kids, we pay them to participate. They can't miss more than 2 days. And if transportation is a barrier, we pick them up from school and bring them to work, which is our pre-apprenticeship program. So transportation is a critical issue that community centers face all over this country. In fact, we're doing a $25 million capital campaign right now to raise money for transportation, to raise money to feed our kids every single day, to raise money. We have the largest public-private partnership in the Madison schools, and we have dozens of tutors that we pay for to make sure that when our kids graduate from high school, they can read and they can write. When I went to Chicago Public Schools, I graduated not knowing how to read and write. And we want to make sure that when our kids go to college or when they go to the workforce, that they are prepared and that they are ready. And that's what Taylor does, her and her team. And you have to have the infrastructure to be able to do that, including having transportational support.
So let's talk about the fundamentals that lead into workforce. You know, there are all these different skills that we kind of take for granted if we grew up with them. Showing up on time, dressing presentably, listening, right? Not necessarily emoting on the job, right? You know, all these different elements, which, you know, if I grew up in a different circumstance, I would have come into the workforce without those skills. So Taylor, Alan, could you just talk a little bit about the continuity between what you both do to help people navigate their entry into the workforce and then with the skills?
I mean, you said it. I think when you talk about the skilled trades, it's a different industry, and the soft skills and the employability skills are a lot different than if you're working in an office per se. So, you know, I think it's important when you look at what we do at the Workforce Center. Again, a lot of the kids that come through our doors, you know, don't have an uncle or an aunt that they can relate to that helps them to make a connection to what a career would be like in the trades. So the exposure piece, as I said earlier, is a big part of what we do. And then it's getting them acclimated to what the career would look like if they chose that path. You know, it's very important, as you said, working in a team is very important. Being able to communicate, showing up on time, being reliable. You know, whether you're an electrician or whether you're a plumber or whether you're a carpenter, on a job site, they all depend upon each other.
Being able to deconstruct a problem and explaining it to a partner who's helping you, right?
Exactly.
I mean, using your words. Remember, as kids, you know, our parents would say, "Use your words."
Yeah. The communication aspect of it is critical. So we try to help the kids understand, you know, what those skills, how those skills play out at an early age. As they're learning about what their careers are that might be available for them in the trades if they decide to, you know, to pursue that pathway.
Taylor, you have some comments on the educational side?
Absolutely. And I'll kind of zoom out and say, you know, as Alan said, and as you referenced, this is, you know, in everything that we do, we talk about with Boys and Girls Clubs, I talk about life and workforce readiness. And so those skills are embedded, you know, in not necessarily the infants, right, towards a certain age, but in our preschoolers, in our after school care, and then all the way through Alan's programs, my programs at the high school and college level. So it really is part of everything we do. As Alan referenced, you know, whatever whatever career it is that you're looking at, maybe you don't know anyone who's been in that field. And so providing that exposure and opportunity and then the skills to get there. So in our education programs, first of all, we partner with AVID. That's a nationwide curriculum that can be found in many school districts, but we are the only Boys and Girls Clubs to have Boys and Girls Club staff as a part of that program. And I call that program out because they focus on 5 elements: writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. And so a lot of those skills are embedded in those elements. So looking at teamwork, how are we working together, class projects, assigning leadership roles in projects, right? And starting to scaffold that. Maybe at 9th grade, we're saying, okay, get together in your group and you're going to do a college research project. And we'll say, have a note taker, have a presenter. But by 12th grade, we're really handing that off and we're saying, you all move forth with this project, showcase those leadership skills that you have. I think we really see that in how phenomenal our teens and members are then as interns, as volunteers, as community leaders. You'll find so many of our members are, leading clubs at their schools, president of a club on campus, getting leadership recognition, receiving those awards for, the most outstanding team, community leaders, and then in our internships. So we match students with summer internships to get to kind of flex those skills in the workplace at the 11th and 12th grade level. And so first of all, we hear right off the bat, I have to warn our employer partners, you're going to be blown away. They're going to be able to do way more than you expect. And we hear that, and we hear about the way that they're able to show up, communicate in the workplace, adapt. And so we're really proud that those skills have been built at that level, but then those internships are another opportunity to continue to build them even further. What is this like in the workplace? How do you apply it? Can you learn from other people? And so it is in everything we do, through the mentorship, through talking about what this looks like in college and career, through activities, through projects, through providing leadership opportunities, making sure that those skills are really embedded in our youth. And we really do see it play out.
So we're coming to the end of our time, but I'd like to touch on a number of things. So one of my great heroes, the Reverend Cecil Williams, used to talk about those who serve shall be served. All right. And you have 12,000 volunteers who are helping your community. And so talk a little bit about the experience that the volunteers have, because if you grew up in a privileged place or an underprivileged place, you get to talk and interact with people who are either like you or not like you, right? That's community right there, right there. Being able to interact on a routine basis with people who are like you and not like you, right? Are you creating Dane County? Or are you helping with others to create Dane County and the place that people want to live?
So we actually just got recognized as top 100 power brokers in Dane County. And one of the criteria that they set is that it's organizations and leaders that help make Dane County a better place to live, work, and play. And so we're in all 3 of those categories. I think about Dr. Matiba Bojang, who just joined our board, was a Boys and Girls Club member who went through one of our programs. She invited me to her graduation 3 months ago, and now she graduated from med school, and now she's a medical doctor. And in her first month, she's already delivered 41 babies. And so watching young people like that go through her program and to come back and to work in our community in the healthcare system. I think about Jenny Micah Santek, who is on our board, who once told me, I thought I was coming to Boys and Girls Clubs to make a difference in somebody else's life. But in reality, the Boys and Girls Clubs have made a difference in my life. And then I think about John McKenzie, who is one of our biggest donors, who have gone on the record. He was the one who helped us build this workforce center. He's gone on the record to say, this organization has brought so much fulfillment, to my life. And he recently made a $5 million pledge to support the work that we do at Boys and Girls Clubs. So when I think about what we do at the Workforce Center, our educational programs, we're definitely educating young people. I think about all of the fitness programs and the sports stuff that we do with kids. It's we're trying to help make a difference not only in young people's lives, but our community as well.
Well, it's just so superb. You're also been named one of the top 5 clubs in the nation for financial literacy and educational programming. you also have, I understand, a full service credit union, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, you got to do, different things to be of service to the young people. And financial literacy, is, part of that. So we explore different things, whether it was when we used to partner with Summit Credit Union, with our credit union, or the work that we do, whether it's with NFL players or with different banks around town. We want our kids to learn about how to put together a marketing plan, how to read budgets, how to do financial forecasting, what's an asset versus, or a liability. You'll be surprised the number of young people who don't know what those things are. And everything that you do, everything, you have to know how to manage your own finances, your own bills. And that's something that we take seriously at Boys and Girls Club.
Michael, you're the CEO, the president and CEO of Boys and Girls Club of Dane County, and you, your team, your community have been really central at getting a statue erected of Val Phillips. And I'd just like you to talk a little bit about Val Phillips, and also what actually went into, who participated in getting that statue created? Why is it so important?
Val Phillips is an icon, not only in Wisconsin, but in America. She was the first woman in the United States, to be elected to a statewide office. She was also the first woman to be appointed to by John F. Kennedy to a national political committee. And she was the first of many in the state of Wisconsin. So part of our mission at Boys and Girls Clubs is advocacy. So during the George Floyd protests, there was a lot of activists that were upset with me because we had raised about $250,000 to replace all of the windows that was broken downtown. And we also hired peace keepers, because not that we wanted to police young people, we didn't want to see young people catch felonies by tearing down statues. So there was a group of young activists who had communicated to me that there was a lack of representation at our state capitol. 4 years later, with the help of the Republican legislature, with the help of our governor, who is a Democrat, and the help of the business and civic community, we raised $750,000 to erect the first statue of an African-American woman in the United States, a singular statue at our state capitol. And I'm proud that Boys and Girls Clubs led that effort.
Michael, why is this so important that you talk unprompted about all the different people who contributed to that successful initiative? Because you have children, you have youth, you have your organization, you have your partners, you have a Republican legislature, you have a Democratic governor. You checked a lot of different members of the community who don't come together. Why is that so important to you, the way it was done, not just the result that you were able to achieve?
Yeah, you got to keep the mission on the community and on the kids. And what I've learned, when you're a bridge builders get walked on from both sides of it. But I'm big enough that I'm used to getting slapped on, beat on. And you gotta have grit. You gotta be resilient. We were not going to give up on having that statue built. It's important for kids in Wisconsin and from across this country to, one, see people that look like them. But it's also important for white kids and Latino kids to see an African-American woman or any woman or any person of color, but also even white statues, that there's diversity, because that's what makes up the fabric of our country. This country is made up of different ethnic groups, different communities, and I believe, and our organization believe, that representation matters. And in this case, it took a bunch of different people at a bunch of different levels to get things done. But the idea came from a group of young people who challenged me during a very difficult time to do something that didn't exist during that era.
Superb. Michael Johnson, President and CEO, Taylor Jackson, Chief Education and People Officer, and Alan Branch, Senior Vice President Workforce Development of Boys and Girls Club of Dane County. Thank you so much for the service that you provide to Dane County, to Wisconsin, to the United States, to the children, families, the communities that surround us all. You are the ones who are making our civil society stronger, and we should all heed your example. It's just been wonderful to have the benefit of your insights. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.